So, in reference to grace, evolution, and cancel culture, should we ever be lenient? When people make mistakes, like how do we go about people, okay, if we're going to get better, what does better look like?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that part is also really, really important, and that also leads to us having constructive conversations that actually makes it so that people aren't afraid to share their views that might not be the best or might not be the most like socially accepted, yet they're still looking to get better. I feel like there's probably large swaths of people that actually want to be a part of the solution, that want to have these conversations at the same time, like ruining my livelihood and my means is just not something that I'm interested in doing. And we're not making it safe for folks to improve.
Yeah. I think the problem is that actually fixing the problem is seen as being lenient. I think those things have become one and the same. So for instance, you have an athlete on a team who tweets get dragged up from when they were in high school.
Yes.
Saying an insane amount of things that were like crazy racist, et cetera, right?
Homophobic,
Right, and like homophobic, all these different things, okay? And then like what happens and everything's okay, well, we're gonna part ways with this person, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the reality is that that person being in a space with the very groups that they've kind of offended will actually help them grow. But the conversation becomes, do we subject those groups to that? Because it becomes something for me where it's like, oh, hey, I'm not a magical Negro. So I'm not going to be able to change every person that looks at me as less and go, well, why don't you just bring them to me? They're going to come to my house, spend some time, find out we're good human beings. You know what I mean?
True.
Is that actually how it works? But I think it becomes where sometimes trying to fix the problem ends up looking like being lenient. And I don't think that's the solution to everything.
But I also think that leniency in that circumstance is actually the solution. Like that's what it is that we have to do. And the narrative to piggyback upon that, which gets a little frustrating, is when black folks say, I'm tired of being woke and this, that, and the third. Like if you really want change, if you really want things to get better, it's not that you got to be like a magical Negro, because I see where you're coming from with that too. At the same time, we have to make ourselves available to having such conversations and like being in that rough spot where it's just like I'm trying to explain the way I perceive white privilege to you, and I just need you. We have to be open to having the tough kind of conversations, which means being around folks who don't agree or fully always recognize or understand your humanity and still moving forward with it. But
I think that just has to be something that actually leads towards something. Because I think the reason people get frustrated with that is because people feel, I always have this conversation and it ends the same way. I always do this and it turns out the same way. And I think we then get to a space of, okay, I just want to work and move forward with those who actually want progress. Like we talked about episodes ago or so. This whole idea that you and I can argue all day long, or I can work with you because we agree and we can actually make change. And so I think when you look at cancel culture, I think the driving force behind why it's this kind of collective energy is because people are going, okay, I don't want to argue with those who don't get it. I want to build with those who do. And so that's the first step of like a building block. The problem is that we're kind of living in a world where we're told that we've actually built the pyramid and all we did was drag a couple bricks over and go, here it is. But I do think there's this collective idea of, okay, I want to build a future with those who understand and spend less time arguing with those who don't, because there's always gonna be folks who don't.
True.
And if I spend all my time arguing with those who don't, I'm going to neglect out on all the things I could have done with those who actually do.
Like generally, people need to start being more comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Like I don't know why it is that it's so difficult for I'll speak for myself, for me, right? All the time to say like, hey, it makes me uncomfortable when I'm in a room and everybody else is black in the room, right? Like that, maybe not uncomfortable is the right word, but like it has an effect on the way that I'm behaving and the way that I'm thinking. What does that mean? How can I navigate that? And can I have a conversation with you about that? Sure.
Yes.
I can have a conversation with a lot of people about that.
Yes.
I have a conversation with my mother about that.
Yes.
You know? And people need to learn how to just talk about it before they do anything else.
Facts.
You know, I'm tired of people pretending that they don't think that way.
Yes.
I'm colorblind. Same thing in that moment. Everybody's feeling that. Don't mind
Well, sometimes you got to do it without an agenda. I mean, you shouldn't do it with an agenda that I'm going to change this person. You can learn a lot from people that you'll never change. You don't see eye to eye on. It's just what it is, and you shouldn't be upset about that.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, no, I think you should align your time with those you think you can move forward with, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with being around somebody who says, you know what, he's the way he is, he's not going to change.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's still a lot for you to learn.
Yeah.
You know, because you're around people that think the way you think, that's just confirming evidence.
Yeah.
You know, you need people that are going to bring in some other thoughts, and I think you got to be okay with that too. You don't have to change them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to, right? Because first off, there's a myth that you can. You know, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that's the word right there. I think that's the word right there.
It's always like it's always like this goal that, you know, one day we're all going to be in harmony and think the same way. It's like, well, first of all, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and second, that's okay that it's not going to happen.
Right.
But I think if people are okay being themselves and being able to express themselves, you know, you come to find out maybe it's not that bad being around those people.
Yeah.
You know, and by the way, you can still have a common goal.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about athletes. I mean, listen, you don't need to think alike at all to be able to move the ball down the field.
So win a chip.
You know what I mean? And it was no different from, you know, from the military.
Yeah.
And that's why they integrated the military. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, it was for us to survive this war.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I think we got to be comfortable with that too.
True.
So,
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
That was a solid point.
Yeah. I do think leniency.
I love and
Yeah.
I just super love the whole. It's a myth that you can actually like it's actually a waste of time to think that you can get everybody to think the way you do.
Yeah. Or even
So that shouldn't even be the point blank period.
Right.
It's just that I think that's solid.
Yeah, it's exposure, right? Like that is what has done more for me to try and understand what people of color go through. Right? It's like quite literally just being exposed.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're so worried about not having an agenda. You're so worried about having a conversation.
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, I mean, listen, you are clearly woke, but at the
Yes.
same time, you'll never truly understand what it's like to be black. But you don't have to.
And that's not the point. Facts.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
You saying,
Facts.
I mean, never understand what's like to be black to me, we're good. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything else.
Yeah.
You know, got it.
But I think for one of us, yeah, right, for one of us to have the point of like, you need to get,
You need to understand, you have to, it's like, no, you
Well,
don't.
yeah,
you know?
and I think it's also real that if you can change someone's mind, that means someone else can too.
Right.
So if you come in and go, I'm going to change their mind, it's like, cool. Well, guess what? 5 minutes later, someone else just destroyed it. So I hope you go back to the drawing board and do all that, you know. But I think with leniency, I think there needs to be leniency for the difference between someone being ignorant and someone being more on the intentional side. I think
Elaborate on that a little bit.
so. I forgot Jeremy Lin. So a few years ago, you know, Jeremy Lin was hot with the Knicks. All this stuff was going right.
Insanity.
There was So like Insanity was huge, and there was a writer who wrote an article when Jeremy Lin hit like a rough patch and the Knicks weren't doing well, and it was basically the headline was "Is Jeremy Lin the chink in the Knicks armor?" Right?
That's what they. Whoa! Who wrote that?
yeah, right. Okay.
Who wrote that?
Are they still employed?
No. Not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
Right? So this person gets fired, becomes a whole thing. Folks who work for newspapers are like, well, really it should be on the editor because the editor is the one who actually lets it go to final
I
reading.
agree with that too.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Now, long story short, they do an interview with this guy. And this guy basically is like, hey, I had no idea that this was a racial slur.
Sure.
Like, starts talking about his experience, all these kinds of things. Now, here's the thing. We know it's a slur,
Yes.
but we also live in a reality where we're highly aware of slurs
Facts.
because of the fact that we're either woke, of color, etc.
Yes.
There are people who are of a certain color that have never heard half the slurs that they could be called and have no idea. And so I think for that, you know what, I completely agree they should have been fired. You know what I mean? There has to be repercussions for your actions. But then when you go to the next job interview, nah, fam, you're racist. We can't hire you.
Right.
Or is it like you were ignorant, you were not aware, you didn't know, and when presented with truth and facts, you received them in a way that you want to grow. And so I think sometimes, and I don't want to say it's, you know, all on us, but I do think there's a responsibility to approach something offensive as if it's ignorance. Give someone a chance to show you that they are ignorant. Right. And go, hey, hold up a second. Like, that's like mad sexist. Let's talk about that. Now, if it becomes, I don't have a sexist bone in my body, I came from a woman, blah, 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 blah. Okay,
Right.
yo, that was the best. We're going to have to cut this off, right?
True.
But if it becomes, whoa, can you educate me on this?
Right.
Can you tell me why? I actually don't want to come across that way, and I want to learn.
Yes.
I think there's a difference. But I think if we come out the gate,
Yeah.
yo, you're sexist, you're canceled. It's like,
That's not the point. Yeah, that's not helpful.
I didn't know, but now I'm canceled. I can't even talk to anyone about it. I can't learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think,
Yeah.
and so I think being lenient really has to come in where it's like, okay, was this ignorance? Because at times it is.
Yeah.
And then how does that ignorance kind of respond to truth?
I actually think we need more leniency now than ever.
Yes.
Because people
That's what I'm
are
trying to
more
get at, yes.
sensitive than ever. You know, it's almost like, you know, if you're ever in a deposition, they always say before you answer a question, take a deep breath, even if you know the answer. You're like, what's your name? You clearly know what the answer is, but they say take a deep breath anyway before you answer, because it allows you that one moment, you know, to avoid a mistake if you're going to make one.
Right.
I feel like we should get to that place, you know, just like with him.
Yeah.
You know, it was like maybe he didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, shame on a bunch of people that it still came out, but
Exactly.
he still may not have known.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think we've become so heightened, so sensitive, and we also know that we have a medium to sort of get that out. Like, I'm mad,
Yeah.
and I know there's a medium for me to get it out.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you should just probably take a step back and just say, wait a minute. First off, he wasn't talking to me. Maybe he didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and that 1 second can make that much of a difference, right?
Yeah.
It could have saved this guy's job
Yeah.
or career, to your point, because
Yeah.
maybe now he can't get a job. You know, I just kind of feel like that leniency we need more now than ever because the sensitivity is so high. More now than ever.
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
And I also feel like in this day and age too, there are so many more people seeking to understand that we need to be as lenient as possible. That we need to be as open to having those kind of conversations, just because it matters.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of people are asking the questions, how can I know about this? How can I get back? You know what I mean? And it's like, I think people are asking those questions, and I think we are in this like hypersensitive, hyper aware, and I think I understand that it comes from this place of, okay, for so long, we would we would excuse sexism, right? So for so long,
still do some folks.
for
Yeah, but we
you know what I
still
mean?
do for some folks.
For so long, you had the boss patting someone on the butt. Hey, those melons look great. You pick them from the store. You know what I mean? All these different things they're saying.
Right.
For so long, we would excuse racism. Well, they're from a different time. Or, okay, I know he made that joke,
old.
but he doesn't have a racist bone in his body, right? For so long, we would excuse it that people are like, hey, I can't excuse this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it exactly what it is, no matter where it lands on the spectrum, which racism, sexism, all the isms are on a spectrum, right? No matter where it lands on the spectrum, I'm going to call it exactly what it is. So there's a hypersensitivity of we have to eradicate this, but we have to go about it the right way. Because if we look at the world 20 years from now and if we continue to do this, will we have eradicated anything?
No.
Right.
Or will we have created a world where everyone just hides all their isms, which is arguably more dangerous?
100%.
You know?